Hey guys, welcome to the Blue Wave. So, we had a very lively debate last night hosted by CNN between Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley. And I just kind of wanted to give you guys my take on who were the winners, who were the losers, what kind of went down, and how the debate might affect the outcome of the Iowa caucuses. So, what we saw last night was actually quite unexpected in a lot of different ways because we saw Nikki Haley sort of getting into the mud with Ron DeSantis in a way that I don't think a lot of people necessarily expected to happen. What we've seen in these past debates is that Nikki Haley has really commanded the stage in a lot of different ways, and her responses have been incisive, cutting, and she's stood out as being maybe the best spoken candidate out of the entire Republican field that exists. But what we saw in the debate that happened last night was kind of this back and forth brawl that kind of didn't really help either candidate, but I think that it especially hurt Haley because of her past successes and her past standing in the from her performances in the past debates. She kind of played right into Ron DeSantis's hands, and she let him kind of bully her around. And at one point, even said something along the lines of that she was, basically personally insulted by DeSantis, and that he was demeaning her is what she was saying. And what that implies is that there's something that DeSantis was saying that she was taking very personally. So that really shows that DeSantis was able to get under her skin, and it caused Nikki Haley to, at certain points, be giving these responses that seemed rushed and not really all that thought out or rehearsed. And it's just not really her strong suit or her wheelhouse of when she's presenting and speaking. I feel like she played into DeSantis's hands, and it made DeSantis, who's not a strong debater and often kind of has these word salads, which is a phrase he used last night, actually, where he doesn't answer the questions directly. And to get a straight answer out of either of these candidates at times can be really seemingly really hard. They don't seem to give straight answers. And CNN did a good job with their clarifications to make sure that the questions were being answered. Okay. But DeSantis was able to appear kind of more in control of his message, and he was able to appear a bit more presidential looking than Nikki Haley, which, like I said, was surprising given how the past debates have gone. Now, the elephant in the room, the former president, Donald Trump, who hasn't been at any of the debates despite qualifying and wasn't at the debate last night. How was he approached? Well, very, very tepidly in most cases, even though Nikki Haley did go a little bit further than Ron DeSantis. And I think that this is ultimately going to be something that hurts her as well, is her response to the January 6th question, where we all know that, January 6th, at this point, one of the most violent days in American political history, okay, has been pretty much whitewashed and completely as ancient history and forgotten by the Republican base and by the Republican leadership who, it's ancient history at this point, okay? It's like ancient Mayan history or something. January 6th, 2021, okay, 3 years ago. And what Haley said is that Trump is responsible for January 6th in some ways, and that it was a horrible day, a horrible bad day, and I don't think that that's going to gain her any points with any of the Trump people or any of the more conservative side of the base. Now, that might not be her play necessarily, and she might be going for kind of more educated, less extreme, kind of less MAGA wing of the party. But when it comes to Iowa, and when it comes to delivering a message to that voting base that's going to resonate, DeSantis gained some points, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but the way that he was kind of just letting Haley dig her own grave. I mean, she mentioned her website, DeSantis Lies, 14 times. She's at DeSantisLies.com, she mentioned. It was funny the first time, but the 13th or 14th time, it was kind of starting to become obnoxious. And I don't think that was landing as well as Nikki Haley supporters or she was hoping. But overall, if I have to say who won, I would say DeSantis did somehow win, even though it was kind of a win not by anything that he necessarily did, or it's just that he gave less of a worse performance than Haley did. And this kind of just goes to show how, unserious and kind of silly these candidates are, and how little of a chance that they really have of ever becoming president is really kind of exemplified last night, because Donald Trump is going to chew these people up and spit them out, okay? And Nikki Haley at this point, I think she's kind of positioning to be vice president or something, or secretary of state, or have some sort of position in a Trump cabinet. And I think that's kind of explains the hesitancy of these GOP frontrunners to incisively criticize Trump. Now, like I said, Haley did go a little bit further than DeSantis. And, when DeSantis was asked basically, do you think Trump has the character to be president? He starts giving some answer about policy differences and how Trump failed to build the wall, and just didn't really answer the question in any incisive way. But Haley's answer, so I think that she did definitely was a little bit stronger on Trump. So kudos to her for that. But ultimately, is it going to sway this Iowa caucus in any meaningful way? Is this debate going to change the outcome in any way? And based on what I just said about their pretty tepid criticism of Trump, no, they're not. And we have a situation where Trump is likely going to trample these candidates, and this debate it's all for second place. That's what all this is for second place, because Donald Trump is the front runner. Donald Trump is the leader of the Republican Party, and there hasn't been any real concerted effort by any group of Republicans to change that in any significant way. So where does that lead us? That leads us to where we are today. And the debate last night being a debate for who's going to be in second place and how far are they going to be behind Donald Trump. Now, Haley might eke out DeSantis for second place. She might get third place and DeSantis gets second. But Trump's likely going to win. Okay, we're going to go to New Hampshire. Trump's likely going to win New Hampshire. Even if Nikki Haley wins New Hampshire, and let's say Nikki Haley wins South Carolina, which I believe is probable that Nikki Haley wins her home state of South Carolina, what we're looking at when we get into Super Tuesday is basically where there's going to be a situation where she hasn't been campaigning and spending in these larger, more diverse states, and she doesn't have the ground game and the infrastructure and the recognizability of a candidate like Donald Trump in these later states. And because of the real kind of lack of concerted effort by the Republicans to oppose Trump. Ultimately, even a strong showing in Iowa, even a strong showing in New Hampshire, even winning maybe New Hampshire, maybe winning South Carolina, it's ultimately not going to be enough, because what we saw in 2020 is that Trump gained, voters. He gained 7 million voters over how many he had in 2016. So, ultimately, you would have had to had a different strategy for a longer period of time. And DeSantis was in his groove. He was feeling confident. He was obviously, he was feeling himself or whatever. Okay, and after a little bit of a rough start, but the DeSantis we saw last night, in that debate, as you guys have probably known from watching my channel, that DeSantis does not appear very often, and he has not appeared often enough to make any tangible effect on this race or to have any tangible shot at winning the nomination. Because what did we see all throughout the year? DeSantis losing donors, not having a centralized message, not having a centralized line of attack against Trump, not having really thought out any sort of campaign beyond just Iowa, not ever having a more national message or appealing to a broader, more moderate electorate, not having sit-down interviews with liberal media, and not having being asked hard questions, and staying in his little bubble, and not venturing out and having any sort of hard-hitting interviews where he's being exposed to different audiences outside of his core voter base in Florida, not having good ads, not spending enough on ads, and not building up enough of a infrastructure throughout the country. And, Nikki Haley kept banging on it last night, the fact that, he's wasted $150 million, and he's dropping in the polls, and he spent more money on private planes flying around than he has on lots of different aspects of his campaign that could potentially be helping him out at this point. And it's all true, right? It's all true about DeSantis. And basically, what I'm trying to say is that even though DeSantis overall, I think, tilted a little bit, the debate last night tilted a little bit in his favor, guess what, guys? Trump people, they're not watching his debates, they're not. And in fact, Trump had a town hall on Fox News at the same time as the debate. So, obviously Trump knows all about TV ratings. He knows all about how to, steal the show and how to make himself the center of attention. That's Trump's the thing that he's best at. And so I think that what we saw was, again, the needle tipping a little bit towards DeSantis. But if this DeSantis had been out and about in January, in March, in May, in July, throughout the year, working TV interviews, going on CNN, going on MSNBC, engaging people on the left, making his case for his strength of leadership, making his case against Donald Trump and why he is a better leader, we'd be in a different world right now. We'd be in a different world. The Iowa caucuses are now, it's 8:24 p.m. Mountain Time, on the 11th. We're basically, 3 days away now at this point, from the Iowa caucuses. I can't believe I just said that. I can't believe how much the time has flown. But, so it's coming up real quick, and time has run out for any real kind of distinctive change in this race. Whether DeSantis gets third, gets second, whether Haley gets second, gets third, we'll see what happens. It's going to be really cold. Turnout is going to be essential. maybe DeSantis somehow does better than I've been thinking. Maybe DeSantis somehow surprises the country and has a strong second place. But what I'm kind of saying is that it doesn't really matter at this point. The race is basically over because it never really got off no candidate was ever able to really get off the ground against Trump in a sufficiently concerted way to really make a dent in his lead and in his incumbent advantage that he enjoys being the former president of the United States. Now, that's all I got for you guys in this one. I want to thank you so much for watching the video. Please be sure to like, subscribe, share the video with a friend if you know somebody that is interested in politics, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. All right, peace.